Right, thanks. First of all, I do agree, be it wind or any other thing, there should be guidelines and everything. That's the first thing. I was just Googling up what a cow produces there, and I'd say, Ron, to go back and check them figures, I think you were fairly accurate in what you're saying about the 4,000 out of 250 compared with the 10,000. The one part to it, you talked about dangers of, say, a flammable thing. Has there been any accident somewhere? Or?
Yes, yeah. So, in regards to, like, as we know, we're producing huge volumes of methane in these facilities, and there is from that. Then they're extremely flammable, and there's a risk of explosion.
Where has that been?
So, I'll take for example. So, a study that was done in 2024 looked at 75 accidents associated with biogas plants. 69% of
in
those.
Ireland, is it?
No. This is across but I'll tell you, a most recent one happened in Oxfordshire in November 2023, when 3 of the digesters exploded. Okay, it was struck by lightning. It exploded, and the toxic gases were released. There was an explosion. It's worth looking up on YouTube to see that video. That explosion could be felt 20 miles away. There is a significant risk associated with these industrial scale biogas facilities. And I said 69% of accidents involving biogas plants are explosions, and 22% of accidents involving biogas plants are release of toxic gases into the local environment. Okay? And again, we're talking about industrial scale biogas. What happened in Oxfordshire was that our understanding is that they didn't put up a lightning rod pole. And as a result, it struck the facility, and there was a huge explosion in that facility. And that's one thing we have to consider. These are being located in rural communities on rural roads that not 2 cars can pass. And there's going to be lorries from our 10 facilities, going to be idle between 30 and 80 HGVs per day on these roads, on local rural roads. And if we have an emergency where you need to bring in serious amount of firefighters or so, and they're going to have to come along local rural roads, and they're going to have to pass these lorries, how long will it take them to get to these facilities if there is an explosion? And that is why we need regulations, and that's why we need setback distance from houses. We need setback distance from houses because if there is an explosion or a release of a toxic gas, people in the neighbourhood have to feel safe in their homes.
In your reference to thing, I agree with you that we need proper roads because where there's lorries. Where do you get what size plant are you talking about with 70 lorries a day?
So if you look at it, so a plant with we're talking about a plant up to 200,000 tonnes.
How many plants in Ireland is that size at the moment?
There is none.
Right.
There is, I believe there's one above
What's
Meath.
the biggest we have?
I think the biggest one is in Meath, is that Bia, or I think it's 190,000 tonnes.
That's here in Dublin, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 190,000 tonnes is the biggest, would be, yeah.
So that's 3,000 loads a year.
3,000 loads is 8, are you saying, for?
That's 3,000 loads a year in 360 or 365 days.
Okay, 3,000.
Would that be fair to say?
That depends on the material and how it's transported, because
I'm talking about Arctic loads. You bring 30 tonne in Arctic loads.
And the thing about that is that we all know that, like with biogas plants, about 90 to 95% of the material is coming back out. So if you're
talking about 5 loads, 6, 3, 6, 5. Even if you left out the Sundays, it's about 10 loads in the day. Would that be fair to say?
Well, developers for plants of the size of 90,000 tonnes, the developers are informing communities that the truck movements will be 14 in, 14 out. So that's 28 truck movements in the day.
Okay. 28, right. But is that that's not every day? Because obviously, when you fill the plant, you have to. It takes a week or 10 days then before you use that materials that you have to take it out. Then, isn't that correct?
But it's continuous. So it may be at the very initial point, yes, but then when it's up and running and operating, it'll be continuous.
Well, you have to leave, if you fill it, you have to leave it there for generally, I don't know, is it a week or 2 weeks?
I think that's true for the smaller plants. Like for the bigger plants, there's a continuous feed in and feed out. And then also, obviously, we have to factor in there for the bigger plants that do not have a grid connection, the gas will have to be trucked out.
Yeah. I think some of them, in fairness, some of them are trying to get a connection to the grid where they're basing them. I agree with regulation, right? I agree that they need to be regulated. I've looked at a lot of AD plants in the north and here. I think if the facts are that if an AD plant is ran right, there isn't a smell. But if they're not ran right, there is a smell, right? And that's the bottom line. I wouldn't agree with you that they cannot be closed down because councils have powers to close down plants if there's problems. Would you agree?
No.
Well, I've seen it happen.
Okay. You see, they are licensed by the EPA.
Yeah,
They're licensed with the
I've
EPA.
seen plants where if there's any problem, the council have a right to close down.
Did they close them down?
I've seen one, well, look at if they stop you taking stuff in, you're closed down.
Okay, I need to go to next speaker.